they did not take steps to ensure that Iran would not seize and close the Strait of Hormuz? How could he not have seen that?
Okay, so I'll keep my answers short, but you asked a few complex questions here. So first of all, when it comes to theocracy, as someone who's been talking a lot about, the policies of the Islamic Republic based on their theology and eschatology and how it informs our politics, I have seen that's very difficult for most people to understand. People tend to deny it, shut it down, never cover it up.
Yeah, but the president's got advisors who explain all this to him the minute he walks into the Oval Office on day one, the first time he was president of the United States. He's not Joe Blow on the street. There's no conception of it. It's the president of the freaking United States.
I understand that's how you want to see it. That when we saw J.D. Vance, with his own words, he mentioned two of the lobbyists of the Islamic Republic as people that he had consulted for understanding Iran. Two very well-known lobbyists of the Islamic Republic. There's NIAC and the Quincy Institute that are lobbyists of the Islamic Republic in Washington, D.C. So first of all, their job is to dull the edge of the American sword vis-a-vis the regime and say, look, the compromise and discussion is a better way to go. There's people in the regime that are not so radical, etc., etc. So first of all, there was the fact that, there's a multitude of voices speaking. Second, even the voice that explains to him theocracy and hears it, and let's say he gets it, he functions within a Western world order that ties his hands to completely reason politically from that point of view to the American people, to other world leaders, and to completely function from that point of view. This idea of secular materialism has so defined our structure that it ties our hands. Even when we get somebody, we can't act as though we get them because our system kind of, holds us back. So he's a little bit, constrained about with the way the system he works in. He gets different types of advice. I'm not sure that people understand it. I talk to very high-level people, including people that are in government, and the things they say to me about Iran or Qatar is I was talking to a member of parliament here a few weeks ago, and we were in a committee, and he leaned down towards me, and he said, so let me get this straight. The Muslim Brotherhood, do they have like a CEO? Is there like a building? And I didn't know what to say.
Right?
No, this is where we are, because he's just a guy who got a job. He's not like a...
No, Ali, no, we are not. I know what door you're coming in. Stop it. You are praising President United States. You giving him the credit he does not deserve, mister. In this situation, we lost, and that's the bottom line is. Don't make this kind. I know where you're coming from.
I don't know what you're saying.
Wait a minute. I know where the hell you're coming from. One more extra word. You praise this thing. I'm gonna knock you out of this room.
I don't know what you're saying, sir.
Your game is not working in here.
I have no idea.
Your game does not work in here. Hear me out.
So,
if you don't understand, shut the hell up. Go down.
Okay. So, Gary,
Jesus Christ.
For your final question about the Strait of Hormuz. So, to secure the Strait of Hormuz,
right.
What was needed?
But what they did is right. What we need to answer this question. What United States did is right. What is the benefit of Iran, as you say?
I don't know what you're saying.
You're not gaining anything. Why don't you understand that? This thing has been going on for a long time.
Yeah, so the short answer is that Marines are required on the land to take the port of Baghdad.
No, we don't need it. And people like you, which supporting this regime, telling that, and your propaganda doesn't work. We have enough Iranian to knock the hell out of this regime. Why don't you get it?
No, I get it, sir. I don't support the regime. I'm a very published author against the regime, sir.
No,
I
you're
don't
not.
What you're saying.
No, you're not. You are. Many people like you telling us you are the supporter people and against this regime, but your action different. You come in.
I don't know. You don't know me. I don't appreciate the things you're telling me.
No. I don't need to know you. I understand. I
You do need
listen
to know
to you.
me. You do
I
need to
listen
know
to
me,
you
sir.
long enough. I listen to you long enough.
The American
Don't
public
insult my intelligence, mister.
You're being slanderous, sir. The American public could not, accept the fact that America might enter into another war. So the Strait of Hormuz cannot be secured through naval or air alone. What they have, it's very mountainous. The port of Bandar Abbas, they have put guns everywhere, and you have to literally go with Marines.
So there's no way that they could have seen through satellite imagery the laying of the mines, and there was no way they could have interdicted and stopped the laying of the mines without Marines on the ground.
So the mines, in order to remove the mines, they would have had to bring
No, I didn't say removing the mines.
Yeah.
I said the laying of the mines. Okay, was this a surprise to the Pentagon? Oh, you know what? We didn't think that they might lay the mines. That's impossible.
I'm not in the
know that.
Pentagon to know, if they're actually got satellite images watching it 24/7 to know, hey, look, they're placing mines. Let's see where they're placing it. But I do know that once the battle started, in order to really open the Strait of Hormuz, the American public didn't have the stomach for the kind of military action that was required.
I have to vehemently disagree with that, and you're obfuscating on the question. The question was, how could he not have predicted that this would be the outcome of what he was doing? How could it have been a surprise to him that he would have kept the Strait of Hormuz?
Okay, so the first thing he did is that he said to the Lloyd's shipping company, which insures all the oil tankers, that withdrew their insurance right away and from the oil tankers and said, because the Strait of Hormuz has been, closed by the IRGC, we're not going to insure these ships. So he came in and said, fine, the United States will insure the insurance company.
Right. Does that answer my question? You're talking about what he did after it became a fait accompli. My question to you is, how is it possible that this president, who you say is operating strategically, and you discussed the manner in which he was operating strategically, could not have predicted that the Strait of Hormuz would be closed?
Well, I don't have the answer to that question, and also why didn't the Pentagon, war game it beforehand?
Why do you ask that question? How do you know the Pentagon didn't war game it? He's the commander-in-chief. He has to tell them what to do and what not to do. I think I have a little bit, I know that it was a little bit of a crass challenge to you by Alan, but I have to show some sympathy to the position that Alan is articulating here.
And what is that position?
You're obfuscating on the question.
Well,
You're obfuscating on the question, and I'm not going to ascribe reasons, but you're obviously extremely knowledgeable, may I even suggest an expert in what's going on with regard to this particular situation in this region, and yet you can't answer the question directly.
Because the question requires for me to have knowledge that I have no access to. How can I possibly
know? You have access to understanding why he did all the other things that you complimented.
With the passage of time, you can analyze policy. His policy has been consistent from before the war.
It's been reported, and you know it's been reported because you follow this very closely by reputable sources that the Pentagon and the CIA and the DIA and probably the Mossad, if not directly, at least indirectly, told the president, warned the president that the first thing that Iran would do is secure the Strait of Hormuz and stop shipping. If that had been prevented, he wouldn't have all this objection to the war, because you know, as well as I know, that the main reason Americans can't stomach this has nothing to do with the fact that we have military assets over there, because in the aggregate, there haven't been that many casualties, thank God. Yeah. The reason they can't stomach it is because they can't stomach the Karens that we all are, the price of fuel at the pump.
That's true.
So that could have been obviated in advance had they secured control of the Strait of Hormuz. And so I will ask you one final behind. How could he not have seen that when his advisors had told him that that's exactly what the counter move would be by Iran?
Okay, so I can only answer you in this way. After the Strait of Hormuz was compromised, I attended a lot of meetings by military people explaining to me how can they open the Strait of Hormuz back up again.
Right. Again, your office. And we're going to move on. I didn't ask you how can we reopen the Strait of Hormuz. I've been clear, I think, 4 times, I believe, in asking the question, if it's so strategic what he was doing, as you suggest, and that's a fair argument to be made, how could he not have anticipated that this would be the logical outcome of the move? And you didn't answer that. And I think I have to kind of understand Alan's point of view. There's got to be a reason why somebody who's knowledgeable on this issue can't answer the question directly. Just answer the question directly. It's not a question of whether I agree or disagree with your answer. I'm trying to understand that question, and I think you're in a position to explain it to us, but you're not. And so I become questioning as well of your motivation. Why don't you explain this to people when it's asked directly? I don't get it. But maybe you're thinking about running for office because none of those guys answer their questions asked directly either. Murad followed by Amir.
Well, Gary, let's get to the point. Gary, that's a good question. Is the ceasefire over or not? From the first moment the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding was signed, my compatriots abroad were beating the drums of despair, but I still counted on Trump and his thinking team. Because Trump himself considers the Islamic Republic an existential threat to the United States. We can clearly see that they are seeking revenge and Trump's blood, and they are shouting this at the funeral of their bloodthirsty leader and planning for it. From the beginning of the war, I believe that this is a step-by-step war, and that the terrorist nature of IRGC would not tolerate any agreement. And if you see that the Strait of Hormuz has become so challenging, it is not because the US Navy does not have the power to open it, but because the time for the direct intervention of the Abraham Lincoln and Gerald Ford, for example, has not yet come. From now, I regret to announce that I see the hard oil island as lost, and I foresee difficult and terrible days for my compatriots, including internet outages, as well as water and electricity outages and unbridled inflation. But this is the price we must pay for freedom, Gary. Back to you.
Now there was a direct analysis. Thank you, Murad. Amir followed by David.
Hi Gary, Alex, Scott, everyone. Right. Okay, so I think Trump miscalculated at the start of the 40-day war. That's the first thing that I'm saying. They thought, both Trump and Netanyahu, thought that if they get rid of the top layer with a few IRGC commanders, then it's going to hold, the whole thing's going to fall apart. But what we saw was the sort of matrix and management of not just the governance, but also in terms of the military, which managed to effectively hold its own and make the war into a 39-day war. But But I think the objective of Trump hasn't changed. I actually agree with some of the stuff that Ali said. And his objective is still surrender Iran to accept the peace agreement on Trump's terms. Now, it didn't work at the outset. It didn't work after the 40-day war. I think he's going to buy his time, excuse me, until the midterms are over. I mean, there may be some fireworks tonight and the days after, but the main objective is still surrender. I mean, it's a bit like the World War II. You know, you don't kill everybody, you kill most people, but you leave a few generals to sign the agreement. And I think that's what he's done with the likes of Bolibov and Pezeshkian and so on. But as I said before, regarding the agreement, with regards to the question, it was bound to fail. I mean, the first clause was a non-starter, especially when Iran doesn't have to stop supporting it, but Israel had to stop firing to Lebanon. I mean, that's just for the birds, Gary.
But an MOU is not a deal, though. That's like an agenda, like you set up for business people.
I don't understand how people don't understand basic English, that we speak one at a time and we do not interrupt one another on the stage and we wait for our turn, and being told that if you interrupt again you'll be removed from the stage. It can come as no surprise that you just were. Go ahead, Amir.
So, I mean, on the other hand, Israel, I think Israel's agenda is quite clear to Hezbollah must be disarmed, which I think is well on its way, with coordination with Lebanese army and the backing of US. Hamas has now effectively relinquished its hold on Gaza in terms of the governance and handing the governance over. But going back to so those are important factors, because you need to deal with the proxies good and proper before you actually and the Iraqi proxies, as Ali mentioned, about the seizing of the funds and so on. So you have to deal with these proxies before you actually concentrate on Iran itself, in order to come to some sort of agreement, which effectively means surrender, which effectively means the end of Islamic Republic, basically. But in the way that Trump sort of has figured it in his head, I think he's well aware of the nature of the beast, as it were. He knows, how radical these guys are. I'm sure his advisors will have told him. But he doesn't want to destroy the country. He doesn't want 30 million people on the go, in terms of leaving the country. I mean, if he starts hitting the infrastructure like the power plants and so on, if you can't pump water to the second floor of your apartment, then it's going to happen what happened in Syria. 1/3 of the population effectively walked out of the country. So he's quite correctly, in my view, is trying to avoid that. But going back to the agreement, I think the agreement is a non-starter. It's actually similar to the Minsk agreement, Gary, between Russia and Ukraine. And that, and this one is bound to sort of go the same kind of defunct way. If you remember, it failed because inherently they had conflicting interpretation and of the agreement, and they were fundamentally incompatible goals, between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine viewed the deal as a way to sort of restore its sovereignty, but Russia viewed it as a mechanism to exert control over Ukraine. It's a similar thing here. I mean, Iran is buying time. Iran is actually hoping to kick US out of Middle East. That is the objective. That is why they're pushing every time. And if they actually think that goal is achievable, believe it or not, I mean, it's a crazy thought, because if they achieve that, then you can forget US as being a superpower and region, and Iran will definitely become a regional power and be able to impose its will on just about everybody, not just the Strait of Hormuz. it will, and the war with Israel will definitely be on the horizon. And I'm talking about the major war in which Israel could easily use nukes. And this is how serious it would be. But again, back on the, I'm sorry I'm talking too much. If I'm talking too much, let me know, Gary. Maybe I just end it here, and maybe I just say a few words later.
Sure. Thank you for that, Amir. Folks, I want to just make a personal plug before we go on any further. I wrote a very heartful piece in my Substack because somebody, and it was the last person in the world that I would ever expect this from, said there's got to be a reason why people hate the Jews. Said that right to my face. And I answered this person in a Substack piece that I wrote just before we went to air here. So if you go back up to the main chat, you'll see, if you scroll back a little bit, a link that I put in about half an hour before we started. I think I put that link in at about, well, just before we started, maybe even, well, about within the hour before we started our discussion here. And I appreciate it if you would read it. It's very short. Comment. And, geez, I appreciate it if more people would subscribe to my Substack. It's a free subscription. It's obviously an issue that's very personal to me, but the interaction, I think, is reflective of an influence that's being perpetrated on a lot of people. And I may be wrong in my observation, and I love your collective feedback to that. So take a look at it if you would, please. I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Amir. We'll go to David, followed by Agent.
Okay, sorry, Gary. Yeah, very spirited debate today. I appreciate a lot of the comments, a lot of the analysis and insights. Gary, it just was reported today that Iran has threatened to destroy or go after oil installations if the United States continues its bombing. Recall in 1991 when Saddam Hussein set 500 oil fires aflame in Kuwait and created what many have argued environmental disaster along the lines of Chernobyl and the gas fiasco in Bhopal, India, setting the air, the water tables, the whole region in a horrific response to his massive loss there. So, this is a big fear. And not only that, Gary, the Gulf states are reliant on desalination water. 90% of their potable water is derived from these critical infrastructures, and they only have, I believe, a 2-day supply if, in fact, those get attacked. And this would force the region into a massive humanitarian crisis. So Iran holds these cards through extortion, by any means necessary to retain their leverage over these negotiations, over what they perceive as their winning hand, if you will. And Trump continues to bluster into these realities, not fully taking stock as to how serious this all is. And of course, he's trying to be cagey with the midterms. He's trying to prop Americans off the fear that we're going to see oil prices spike. They were coming down. We saw oil trend downward. Now they're trending upward again. So Gary, this is this gamemanship has been very costly, and we've had over 50 years to understand this regime, to understand their play in the region, to understand their politics, to understand their messianic zeal, to defend their theocratic realities. Many have argued that they want to take us back to 7th century Islam, which is the early beginnings of this 2 billion plus religious organization. So I don't think he's got a lot of cards, Gary, going forward. I think Netanyahu overplayed his hand, and in his zeal to protect Israel, and obviously to give Trump some sort of vaunted station in the history and the annals of American victory over this, he took the bait and went for it. His Joint Chiefs of Staff had warned him, as previous administrations had been advised, that this is, to quote Colin Powell back in Gulf War I, if you destroy it, if you break it, you own it. And so, sorry, I had to get rid of that call. And so I think holding us hostage as a nation is really what's happening here. Who can withstand the pain longest? And I think the Iranian regime is prepared. I mean, hell, dear, we don't even know who's running the show right now. We know that the son of the deceased leader is now in charge supposedly, but many have argued that his military is running the show. So it's hard to know who's negotiating. There was a groundswell of support for the deceased Ayatollah in the streets of Tehran and elsewhere. Many have argued that it was a combination of sympathies with regard to religious fealty, to rally behind the flag, to outright support for the guy. And of course, there are probably millions more that were anti-regime and afraid to come out and obviously stayed at home. So a lot to consider in going forward. And Gary, we're at the mercy of a president who doesn't articulate his message as well. On the one hand, he's calling them scum. Previously, during negotiations, he was calling them smart people, smart negotiators. We saw how he went to the NATO summit in Turkey and called out our allies with some level of massive level of disrespect. And then, of course, he wrapped it all up in a bow and said things are great. So apparently the NATO alliance is holding, irrespective of the rhetoric that's coming out of his mouth. But, he's leaving us in a lurch, Gary. He's really leaving us second guessing. And I'm sure the powers that be, the oil companies, the insurance companies, everybody's on a speed dial into Trump. I'm sure they're getting information that isn't necessarily readily available to the average American. But Gary, I want to just say that your commentary is absent the realities of what really has to happen here. I think the nations around the world, as smart as they are, having their own levels of, particularly NATO life, having their own level of cadre of specialists and diplomats and experts in the field of geopolitics, understand the cost, the heavy burden that has to be lifted to take out the regime. And we're sort of dancing around the fact that young men, young women are going to have to risk their lives to try to attempt to take this regime out. And that's not something I don't think President Trump is prepared to do. For that, I respect the man for cautiously navigating these dangerous waters with regard to the lives of our men and women. And at some point, we may have to pull the trigger on that front. But unless the rest of the world who benefits from cheap oil prices, from stability, are also willing to put their men and women on the line, I don't think we go it alone. And I'll end there.
Well, it's hard to get NATO to embrace, or any of our other allies to embrace this action, no matter how serious they believe it ought to be. When you have a president who is consistently attacking NATO, why would they form a coalition of the willing? They wouldn't. Now, one could argue that the president has been very successful through the manner in which he has been broaching the issue of NATO contributions to get them to step up to the plate and not be fully dependent upon the United States for their defense. And they did it pretty damn rapidly, to give them credit. And they're doing it now very rapidly. And we saw that at the NATO summit. reflected at the NATO summit with the announcement of the massive purchase of military equipment that these nations didn't have to purchase in the past because they were reliant on the United States to protect them. So there's a success, perhaps, based on that tactic, but a lack of corresponding support for the United States. If your argument is, well, none of these other countries are willing to go and expend blood to ensure the freedom of the world, which is threatened very directly by the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Well, but Gary, keep in mind that Europe has Russia on its doorstep. There's talk that Putin's exploring a possibility of entering into Poland. And so, had we not had this 5-year drawn out World War I type ground bloodbath between Ukraine and Russia, I think NATO would have been more on board with assisting us in this endeavor. But I think they've got bigger fish to fry with Putin talking about coming into Poland.
If the President of the United States when Europe is actually under the first real duress they've had since the Nazis, if the President of the United States, and the United States is supposedly the head of NATO, says, hey, we're going to hang you out to dry, it's up to you to defend yourself, why would they take the time to say in turn, well, we'll help you with regard to Iran? No, they don't mind seeing Trump hanging out to dry the way he is. I'm sure of it. They weren't, he said today, in NATO, I went there, and there was a lot of love in the room for the United States. What is he talking about? Maybe for the United States, but clearly not for Donald Trump. Even the Secretary General of NATO said he did not want to go to his own summit in Turkey, and the implication was clearly because Donald Trump would be there, but he did it out of respect for Erdogan. Can you imagine that you're showing more respect for a maniac like Erdogan than you are for the President of the United States? He created this situation, David, for better or for worse, and maybe in some respects it is better. But with regard to trying to get our natural, consistent allies in Europe to step up to the plate and show support for the efforts in the Middle East, only if they're forced to do it, which now some of them feel that they have to do a little bit in order to keep the oil flowing, so they've committed some minesweepers. Big deal.
Well, yeah, and I just want to, not take the room too far afield, but the great piece on 60 Minutes the other day regarding the rare earth mineral monopoly that China holds over our economy. They control 90% of the world's rare earth mineral production with regard to very sophisticated magnets that go in just about everything from our military to our cars. That they can pull that card very easily, and we're scrambling over here, and we're trying to take out Iran when we have an even bigger threat to the east of us with regard to Taiwan. So I think ultimately we can't battle everybody, but I think one thing is certain. If NATO falls apart, which has been a wet dream of Putin's for some time now, we are really going to be in a lurch, Gary, as far as trying to hold it alone. And Iran knows this. I think China knows this. And I think Putin knows this. So,
are you suggesting that the president is playing into Putin's hands?
Well, I think he was last year. I think when he decided to meet with him in Alaska, when they shook poor Zelensky down the way they did in the White House, embarrassed him on the international stage, and kind of left him leaving empty-handed, going back to fight the good fight. I think that was a bad start to his administration, a bad start for Ukraine. And now but see, Trump thought he was backing a winner. He likes to back winners, and now Ukraine is punching above their weight with this asymmetrical warfare. Russia just has too much territory to try to defend, too much infrastructure that's heavily exposed to this, and he sees Ukraine winning. In fact, I think he just signed some sort of executive order with regard to manufacturing Patriot missiles over in Ukraine. So we're making an attempt there, and I think we're feeling more confident to provide our NATO backing in a way that we weren't previously excited about backing under Trump, or under Biden, because of the threat of Putin going nuclear. So I think the winds are changing in the favor of Ukraine here, and I think Trump is starting to see that the little guy in the office is holding his own, and we should back him to the extent that we can, and help him achieve some sort of peace agreement, or forcing Trump or Putin out of there. So.
I just want to say this is getting far afield, that the United States fears about Putin began during previous administrations when we sold defensive missiles to Poland. Defensive missiles to Poland, which, as you just pointed out, have a realistic fear of invasion from Russia. And Russia threatened retaliation if we went through with that deal, because they viewed those missiles as a threat to the Russian homeland. So we pulled out of the deal. That was their Cuban Missile Crisis, except it was manufactured. Something to consider. Sometimes, and I'm not I'm not John Bolton, by any stretch of the imagination, but sometimes you have to stand up to the bully. When my children were kids, and by the way, this went against school policy, and I had a child who was suspended because she followed my advice, not that dictated by the school, and stood up to bullies. And my son previously stood up in another school to bullies against the policy. Sometimes you have to do that. And by the way, when my daughter got suspended, I rewarded her for it. What terrible parenting by me. You rewarded your child for getting suspended from school? We're going to have to call social services on you. David, followed by Daniel.
I suppose it's me, right?
If your name is David, yes. The other David just finished. Yes.
This one, okay. Thank you for, it's good to be back in your room. Earlier you asked a question from the gentleman that either avoided answering or didn't know the answer. That's like why I didn't.
He knew the answer, he just obfuscated. He didn't want to answer. He's a very knowledgeable individual. I acknowledge that about him. That's why I asked him the question. But yes, it wasn't that he didn't know, I'm sure.
You might want to repeat the question really quick because I have my own answer just in case.
Well, I asked him how was it that the president did not anticipate that the logical response by Iran to the actions by the United States would be to close the Strait of Hormuz.
Okay, my answer is he was aware of it, and it was a cost and benefit, and that was a decision that was made based on that. I explain why. The policy of the United States, the 4 or 5 decades of sanctions and threats and all that, wasn't dead. It was a self-reinforcing cycle of coercion and resistance. Politics of containment, sanctions, and military pressure weakened Islamic Republic, but resistance instead of economy of development. By that I mean just the basics that the country needs. And that's basically it. And Khomeini, former leader, all the time, every year discussed that and brought up that that's the resistance economy. Resistance economy circumvented the sanctions, and there's like two economies in the world: the economy of the underground economy, where there's drugs, there's weapons, there's human trafficking, there's drug, and all that, and just resorted to that. And it's a very successful economy too, if you go that way. And that's what they did. And also, all the oil that they were still, no matter what, through China, etc., they were selling, even at discount, but it just comes out of the ground and then it's free. And created their own leverage and also the proxies, etc. And this for 5 decades, they didn't get it. It was just a matter of just keeping the status quo or doing something about it. And October 7th, I think, was a turning point that they eventually came to think that something was to be done about it. Obviously, doesn't happen overnight. So, I say that 3 choices. The first one was just status quo that I just mentioned that was just a dead end. The other option was to attack with boots on the ground. That's about 500,000 Americans that today there is no appetite for it. That American kids go on a foreign land, and the results that we've seen in Afghanistan, Iraq, etc., all from Vietnam all the way on, except 1 or 2 cases, it was a disaster. So those 2 were out of the picture. It still is, as far as I'm concerned. The third one was exactly what President Trump did to get rid of as much leaders as possible, get rid of as much as possible their nuclear capacity, as well as their defense mechanism. And then hoping, as he said, that the new leadership would get into some MOU and then later agreements. Well, that hasn't happened, and despite promises and hopes, that hasn't happened. So what, I'm getting to the end of the conclusion, what President Trump kept mentioning and continuing to threaten the leaders is that I will annihilate, I will get rid of all your infrastructure. And why does he say that? Because the resistance economy needs that infrastructure. So if the leadership, leftover leadership, doesn't come on board, he has 2 choices, and he will continue doing that. Get rid of more leadership levels, it's like peeling an onion, and it's been told, as well as destroying even more of infrastructure. So the asset that they have, which is the resistance economy, will no longer work. Plus the complete closure of the Strait of Hormuz on them to prevent it ascending to China. Our last benefit is that although the U.S. is less dependent on the oil, it affected everything, but always notice what President Trump says he controls the market. The Europeans eventually have to do something about it too. So that helps his goal of containing or changing the regime, or at least the behavior of the regime. And that's why he did what he's doing. He's going to continue to do that.
Oh, wait a minute. You're arguing that it was strategic and expected and in his favor that the Strait of Hormuz was closed for a varying number of reasons that you just articulated, that in the long run, it is a positive move in terms of getting, to codify this and make it extremely simple, getting all these other nations that are equally or even greater affected by the impediment to get oil to them to step up to the plate.
Correct. War is not the first choice, but sometimes it's unavoidable. But it is one kind of war, and that the cost and benefit. There's always a cost and benefit with the war, and that's the path that has been chosen. And if you notice, the MOU was signed at G7 in front of the leaders of the free world. They all clapped. So he did what they were expecting or they were asking for. Yesterday he was at the NATO was done at the neighboring country of Iran, and then this attack was done after Iran attacked 3 ships, and so this is all I think is planned, and also everything that Europeans are asking for one way or another is being done. To the extent that even in the US they're saying, oh, you gave him everything, and he did give a lot of things. It wasn't much that he gave. The things that was taken away was being offered back if they behaved, but they haven't behaved. So I think it's a calculated move. There is a cost, but there is a benefit after 40 years that they have to do something about.
You reckon then, so given your scenario that you articulated, David, do you reckon that he anticipated the domestic squeeze that would be placed upon him as we approach the midterm elections as a result of the Strait of Hormuz being closed?
Yes, I think that Congress was a lost case, and it's about Senate. And what's going to happen with the Senate? Some may leave, but those are the ones who sometimes vote one way or another. But the ones who are going to stay are solid supporters of it. It's not that worried about that. In a way, that election, as far as Trump is concerned, is not an issue that you see. It doesn't mean that concern. It's the presidential election and all that, and what the results will be. It's all cost and benefit.
It's very interesting analysis. I appreciate you participating today because that's an angle I have not heard anybody articulate. So I haven't been able to really consider it until now. Thank you, David. Just before I get to Daniel, I want to say there are folks whose hands have been up. I have not ignored you. I've invited all of you to the stage repeatedly. And either you don't see it or you aren't getting the invite to the stage because of some kind of a clubhouse issue. And I think that in at least one case, Les actually left the room and came back and tried again, and that didn't seem to work. So I don't understand why several of you are stuck in the audience, not on the stage, but I just wanted to make it clear it's not because I have ignored you, because I anticipate some nasty grams from people. Why didn't you bring me up to the stage? And I just want to clarify that it's not my doing. Daniel, followed by Enrique.
Thank you for having a great room, Gary. I had something to say to both Davids, actually. One of them's left, but I just want to say for the record that a cost-benefit analysis, almost sort of, on a deal-making basis, that destroying infrastructure is not a cost-benefit. It's a war crime. That's literally what it is. And I think that it is interesting that this whole Iran episode showed off to the world what I happen to know was already going on because I do business with people in Ukraine, that Ukraine had developed this whole industry of modern warfare that now all the Gulf states are bringing experts in from Ukraine to show them, how to defend themselves against Iran. So it's risen since we were talking about Ukraine turning the tide before when the other David was here. I just wanted to support that I think very much, even before they started taking back land, Ukraine started turning more than 6 months ago. But as far as what I'd like to say about the idea that there's strategy, I think the idea of the second David, that there's some long-term strategy here would take a pretty big bet. But the idea that we have to talk about it as a long-term strategy means we recognize that in the short term, it's harming the entire world. That's a fact. In economic measures, human outcome measures, and for what benefit? Like, even was there even a selfish benefit to the United States right now out of what has been engaged in? Never mind if you even remove the costs of blood and treasure as well. What has actually been accomplished that you didn't already have with the Obama deal, which took a couple of years and a whole administration, to get to that level, and that had the agreement of a bunch of countries, not just America, let's not forget, where Trump is complaining on the world stage that he has no support because he has no idea what it is to build an international set of relations. Those are a threat to him. He's only interested in the individual authoritarians he can deal with, because he can't apparently, I'm just looking at it objectively, ever seem to create real coalition. So as far as the Iran thing is concerned, I'll just land my plane on this thought, which is including Ukraine, including Russia going into Ukraine, including America trying to take out Iran, which has made it stronger economically and in every way. Since 1900, I'm going to ask you, since 1900, is there any case we can point to where the aggressor has really won anything? I can't find it.
I guess one would have to define what is winning,
And aggressor too, right?
Yeah, I guess, and what's an aggressor too? That's a difficult one to. Yeah, I think perhaps you're saying when it comes to wars that hasn't occurred. I don't know whether that's true or not. I can't. I'm not qualified to answer that.
I think it is a question all of us can explore, especially with the tools, as to whether there is any truth to this conversation that in the modern world the aggressor does not win predominantly, whether it's America and Vietnam, whether it's Russia and Afghanistan, whether it's exactly what's happened in Iran now, where America, in my observation, in every measure you can measure a value, America has harmed itself in this war with Iran. And clearly a lot of people believe that's true, at least, as well. And so where is the scenario? Obviously, we know what happened in World War II with the aggressor, right? Where has the aggressor won? Maybe the Falkland Islands? The British is about the only thing I can sort of point to. And my point about making this case is that where we win things for our respective countries is where we win in relationships and trade and all of that stuff, which comes after the war. I predict this also about Ukraine. Not only is it leading the world right now militarily in ingenuity and technology, demand around the world for the hottest product in military history in 1,000 years, but after the war is over, I can tell you myself for an hour about the amount of money that is lined up to go into Ukraine, and is some of it already spending money in rebuilding Ukraine, because humanity makes a lot of money rebuilding after the war. When we get past the war is where we make the money. That's what I'm just.
Thank you, Daniel. Again, I know there are a lot of hands up and more have come up. Everybody's been invited up to the stage. I don't know what's going on with Clubhouse today. One of the individuals who stuck with her hand up in the audience knows the folks who run this program. So I know we have a direct line of reporting this technical glitch to the powers that be, who of course want us to all enjoy the program. I'm not knocking them at all. So they have an incentive to resolve this problem. Now it's SAAM, so I can't say Sam. I guess it's Same. Am I saying your name right? Same followed by Mary Lou.
It's actually Psalm, but we can call it
Stop! I should have known that. Stop! Got it. No, I like calling people by their names accurately. Sam, you.
Appreciate it. I just want to share quick about what the previous speaker was talking about, how this deal is going to be like what Obama, the deal with Obama. You can't even compare the two. Number one, the military of IRGC has weakened more than ever before. Finally, after 47 years, somebody, instead of sending them planes of cash, stood the ground and fought them for once, for a change. Anyways, so that's number one. And I think he's done so far. And this is not done yet. And you said ceasefire, the actually title of the room. It's a memorandum of understanding which they broke. IRGC did. They're the one who started this, right? And that cancels it. And no obligations whatsoever. So I think the war is back. So we don't know what's going to happen yet. Some people talk as if it's done, like this is it. We're out. Everything's back to normal. If he doesn't finish the job, even if he doesn't finish the job to this point, IRGC has been weakened than any time in the past 47 years, more than any time. This is the weakest that they've ever been. So that by itself, it's a win. All their proxies have been destroyed, almost destroyed, or they make deals with Hezbollah and the whole Israel situation. So they got weakened, and that's all I was going to say. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. And we'll go to Amir.
I actually came up to test this idea that you wouldn't accept the invitation. But now that I'll just say just a couple of words about the MOU. You've had this old story about the guy in Kentucky who sells his horse for $100. You may have heard it. And they go to him and they say, well, why did you sell your horse for $100? And he says, well, my horse was lame, it was worthless. So they go to the buyer and they say to him, you poor bugger, you bought a lame horse. And the guy says, actually, the horse is fine. He has a nail in his leg when I want to lame. He'll be just fine. So they go back to the seller and say, you idiot, you sold the horse. This horse is fine. It's limping because of the nail in his foot. And the guy says, actually, the horse is lame. I put a nail in his foot so that the buyer would think it's limping because of the nail. So they go back to the buyer and they say, you can have me. The horse is actually lame. The dude put a nail in his foot to fool you. And the buyer says, well, my $100 bill was fake anyway. So that's the moral of the story, if you ask me, for this signed MOU between US and Iran.
Well, the president, before the United States attacked Iran, following the attack on the shipping, the president called the ceasefire a waste of time. I mean, how are we supposed to judge what the hell is going on? And you're probably right. Everybody is holding counterfeit bills in their hands. And it's all one flim-flam artist dealing with another flim-flam artist. And who suffers? Okay, Gary expresses his frustration in the critical thinking forum, but that's not real suffering. The people who are suffering through all this are the people of Iran primarily and the people of Israel. They're suffering as a result of this inconsistency, this whirlwind. I don't have opportunity right now, for obvious reasons, to talk to anybody in Iran. I actually, as Alan can attest, there was a time when I had direct communications with people in Iran. I cannot reinstate them now. I have some indirect information that I'm getting, but not direct. But I am getting a lot of direct information from the people of Israel. This is taking a psychological toll on the people of Israel, all of this. They have no idea where they stand. I think the people of Iran and the people of Israel both were, in general, very happy when the United States thanks to President Trump, took decisive action with regard to this terroristic regime in Iran. There was a unification there of the populaces. It was that proper, is it populaces or is it populi when you talk about two populaces? I don't know, but you get what I'm saying. There was a unification there. And now there's nothing but confusion, Amir.
Yeah, I 100%. I think everybody is suffering. There's no doubt about it. And the people in Israel and the people in Iran are suffering much more than the people suffer at the pump in the Western world, if you like. But I think this was on the horizon. I think it was inevitable. There was a timeline that this would be happening. And if it had happened sooner, it would have been better, rather than sort of appeasing it as Obama did with tons of cash. If that was done earlier, then it would have been easier. But the nature of the beast is now what we're facing, and I think it needs to be dealt with. I actually think Iran is somewhat snookered here, more so than anyone else. You cannot help Hezbollah. Israel and Lebanon are squeezing Hezbollah dry of weapons and resources and destroying underground tunnels. And they're sort of stopping Iran's support, which is, which was through flights delivering funds and weapons. That corridor through Israel, through Syria is now completely blocked by land and by air. So it seems to me that, as I said, it's probably the midterm is an important one, because if Trump loses the midterms, then basically he's a lame duck president for the rest of the time. But if he wins it, and he knows that, this is his last term anyway, then that kind of gives him a free hand to do what he wants. And I think we need to judge him after the midterm, and not with what's been going on up to now, which is effectively buying time and trying to sort of manage the market, to control the price of oil and everything else. So that's what's happening at the moment. But don't forget, on the last point, don't forget the huge struggle, the internal fighting that's going on in Iran. And this is going to peak as we move towards September, because the fighting is really over just about everything. And the Pezeshkian, Ghalibaf, and Iraqi team are effectively marginalized at the moment. Unless someone like Ghalibaf does a sort of a mini coup d'etat and gets hold of the system overall, and then makes a deal with Trump, this is going to sort of push Iran towards an internal collapse, which is going to be much easier to deal with in the eyes of Trump after the midterm. And that's my summary of it.
Amir, I want to throw another thing into this one bit of information that heretofore hasn't been discussed. Seymour Hersh has written today, and he gets it the nail on the head a lot, and sometimes he misses. But what he reports today is, and I'm going to quote him directly, the U.S. and Israeli intelligence communities have recently learned that Iran's supposedly existential threat to Israel and the West, its underground supply of partially enriched uranium, has degraded while in underground storage. 2 of the 3 Iranian nuclear storage depots at Fordo and Isfahan are hot. That is, filled with radioactivity from what clearly has been significant degradation of the storage containers Iran had used for the heat saving of Iran's hope. This is a mistake in the editing on his part. Hope of, I think he started to write keeping and then changed it to saving. The saving of Iran's hope of eventually upgrading the stored material to weapons level and becoming another player in the nuclear world. I've been told by sources close to U.S. and Israeli intelligence that a recent inspection of the underground storage areas led to the death of at least 2 Iranian technicians. They may have been members of the Iranian military who were exposed to high levels of radioactivity. Again, I don't know the veracity of this, but I don't think he just, is writing a novel, so he believes that what he is writing is accurate. They may be in worse shape, the regime that is, than we had anticipated before.
I think that is the case. I mean, I'm not a nuclear physicist, so I couldn't make comment on the degradation of the nuclear material. But if that is the case, I don't think, even if that is the case, that's going to be enough for Netanyahu and Trump to be satisfied. They need to get hold of that material, one way or the other, whether it's decaying or not. They need to close the enrichment facilities, because that obviously opens the path for developing this material in the future. So those two are non-negotiable, and so they need someone in charge to be able to have a deal with that. And once you take those two out of the equation, you effectively got rid of what we know Islamic Republic as, because then the main card, the winning card, is out of their hand, effectively.
If this information is accurate, then main card only is out of their hand, to use your phraseology, if people are aware of it. Right? So if people are not aware of this information, if it's accurate, it doesn't even matter whether they really have the nuclear capabilities. If people think they do, they still have the upper hand. I think. Something to consider. Thanks, Amir. We'll see how far we get with the last 2 on the stage, because we have 6 minutes remaining. Spira, followed by Daniel.
You hear me?
Yeah, and again, my apologies to those who could not get up on stage. I've invited you repeatedly. It's not your fault or mine. Spira, you're...
Thanks so much. Now, I would like to bring perhaps a different perspective about this war, if I may. I don't think this war with Iran is about oil trade or deals, as we've been hearing, lately. I believe this is related to the Islamic expansion into the West. And I say this because the threat of Islamic radicals mainly, sponsored by Iran and other caliphates, if you look at it into the past, that has been the case. And I also do think it's a mistake for us to go to Turkey and try to, convince them to make deals with us at this point, because I believe they are supporting Iran all the way. And so I think there's some concerns there. And I heard about, the efforts that the United States and Israel made on trying to put an end to the Iranian nuclear program, the way we've seen it happen. It's not over yet, because we do need to recover those uranium at that level that they have. And I don't know what happened to that, if we were able to get it. But anyways, it's still there under their territory. But here we are worrying and putting a lot of efforts to neutralize this Iranian program, nuclear program. But we are not concerning right now with what's happening in England and France, which are 2 nuclear powers, where there's a lot of radicals that are also running for office there. And I keep imagining what would be a world with those folks putting their hands around those nuclear British nuclear codes and the French nuclear codes. Those are the two nuclear powers of the Europe where we're seeing what's happening in that scenario. So I'm really concerned about this expansion. I'm really concerned about, I'm glad that this is not, the war is not over yet at this point. I think it's important that we continue, to push on this until this regime, it's over, and then we can, really support the Iranian people with what they deserve and bring their own way of selecting their leaders and so forth. But that's what I would like to bring is a different approach, different thoughts about why it is important not to stop now, why it is important to try to really, finish with this regime. I'm sure that if there is any remaining folks from this regime, they're gonna cross the border into Turkey. Um, and I think, they are all interconnected, interrelated. And I think this is another aspect that we need to consider and see. And also the last point I want to make, I do believe this time that we are back into this scenario with Iran. I think there might be a possibility for a coalition with some Gulf states, which are like Saudi Arabia, maybe others, who are really concerned about what Iran capability is today.
Well, the Indians have been firing rockets into those countries, and ostensibly it's because those countries are hosting U.S. military bases, but they're not just targeting the U.S. military bases. They're targeting the civilian infrastructure of these countries. Bahrain last night. Uh, what was the other one? I guess it was Oman last night. I think was the other one last night. I can't remember. There's so many. I mean, come on. I want to see them step up to the plate too. I think that's a very good point, folks. In the beginning of our dissertation today, or the beginning of our gathering today, I gave my opening salvo or my dissertation, in which I said, this morning when I went to sleep, the president had just said the ceasefire is over. Then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, New York time, when I woke up, I see that the president said the ceasefire continues and the negotiations continue. God knows whether that will change again during our time together today. Well, right now, ladies and gentlemen, the United States is conducting new strikes in Iran. Actions, ladies and gentlemen, speak louder than words. Folks, we hear it at 5 o'clock New York time, Mondays and Fridays. So until 5 o'clock New York time tomorrow, for the next edition of the Critical Thinking Forum, everybody be safe, be well, and peace out.
I just have some issues with the title.
We're praying for Iran.
Can you please?
We're praying for the
Oh my
Ayatollah.
God. Pray for the Ayatollah, okay?
And this is, listen, I had to go off on a mirror on this, okay?
Oh my God.
And it's
The rage bait is
It's amazing.
all right.
Oh, again, we don't want the one-sided brain here.
I love this room. I'm in like old times and I'm on Clubhouse with all my.
This is like season 1 already.
Oh,
This is fun.
it's just what I missed all these months. I've been busy doing
Exactly. We want the nostalgia for you, Jeff.
Oh, I'm filming. That represents the best of Clubhouse.
Yeah. We're all representing. We got our clubhouse badges.
My badge is gone.
I was about to say, what the fuck happened?
I had a room that Jeff's gone and Norm.
I thought you were dead.
He's like, this room title suggests Jeff is dead. I said, everyone knows Jeff isn't dead.
No, but that one title people were coming in thinking he's dead actually.
No,
Somebody else came in.
it was.
I remember how somebody else came in, or somebody questioned while Norm came in on stage. They were like, yeah, that title.
Norm said it. Anyway, I just
funny.
the words that have to live it well, just neglecting your friend.
When you texted me and said, come, there's a funeral for me.
That was probably going.
Yeah, I better attend my funeral, just let you know.
Yeah.
Or I'll be pissed.
Speaking of praying for someone, the famous quotation from Nietzsche says, if the thing we did say a stupid thing, it's a stupid thing. And I'm not referring to any recent examples of the police.
As well as I said, deterioration in sort of how we get on as a society. When we talk about tribalism, I think one of the biggest things is precisely that. We don't actually know from the basic level how to
I know something
engage anymore. Or it feels that way anyway. It feels like there's been a deterioration.
I know something better we could do
in the
for it.
workplace. There's no sense of
know what it is?
of being objective, thinking, oh, maybe so and so did this because this other thing happened. It's like, no, anything that happens because somebody's personally out to get me. COVID really had a big impact on that. I think we were taught to see everyone
I'm not quite sure if there is a body inside of that coffin. Man, impossible. After that huge bomb, you can't, all left is a powder. Impossible.
But in
they're playing with
people.
I
People have
think
to get up and go and
it's a reminiscence
like,
together
we're
on top of each other.
going to meet on a Sunday, go for a
Oh,
run.
and Rafi, he doesn't get buried in Iran. He gets buried in Najaf in Iraq.
Poor areas,
Oh,
they
that's
don't
where
have
they're
that.
buried?
They're more likely
You know why?
having to shit on their own
Because
doorstep.
they
They're
know
going to dump their own
Iran's
areas.
gonna
They're
fall
going
and people are
to
gonna
go
go
around
grave, so they'd rather protect it in Iran.
Yes, Rafi, I'm 100% sure. I very agree with you. Truly, that's the part that they for sure they know about it.
But they fucking disrespected the holy leader. The holiest leader they had, they kept him not buried for 6 months, which is very haram in Islam, very haram, which is very disrespectful. And yeah, to parade him, not nice.
Not nice.
Not nice at all.
The actual Iranians are not doing a parade for him. What they're doing is they're on the way to vacation location in Iran, the northern part or the southern part, and they're playing this right now.
डांटने डपटने से ये और उल्टा तेजी में आ जाता है। अगर इस पर गुस्सा हो जाओ तो ये कहता है कि ये कैसा महात्मापन है। बस जरा से में गुस्सा आ गया और अभी समझा रहे थे अक्रोध, और भूल ही गए और खुद ही क्रोध में आ गए। और अभी कह रहे थे कि मनुष्य को जल में कमलवत रहना चाहिए, और अब क्या हुआ, जरा चाबी घुमाई कि भूल ही गए कि जल में कमलवत रहना, एकदम डुबकी मार गए जल में। ये कुछ ना कुछ गड़बड़ करता है। तो वो मेरे पिता को खबर भेज देते थे कि महात्मा आए हैं आज हमारे घर में, तुम्हारे बेटे को पता ना चले। मगर मैं उनके घर के सामने से दिन में 2 दफे निकलता ही था। और उनकी पत्नी महात्माओं के खिलाफ थी, स्वभाव था, क्योंकि उसको इनकी सेवा करते करते थक मरी थी वो, और एक से एक मूढ़ों की सेवा उसको करते करते। तो अगर मुझे पता भी नहीं चले, उनकी पत्नी खबर भिजवा दे कि बेटा तू आ जाना, लगा दे इसको ठिकाने। तो मैं तो कुछ कर नहीं सकती, क्योंकि वो पति देव के पीछे। उनकी पत्नी महात्माओं से भी ज्यादा मेरी सेवा करती थी, मालपुए खिलाती, ये करती थी, बिल्कुल ठिकाने लगा दे इस महात्मा को। ऐसा ठिकाने लगाओ कि कभी आए नहीं वापस। तो मैं भी उनसे कहता कि मैं क्या करूं, मुझे तो पता ही नहीं था, संदेश आपके घर से ही मिला है। वो कहते कि भेजा होगा मेरी पत्नी ने, मैं जानता हूं उसको, वो तेरे पक्ष में, और वो क्यों तेरे पक्ष में वो भी मैं जानता हूं, वो मुझसे बदला ले रही तेरे द्वारा। मैंने कहा तुम अपने महात्माओं को क्यों नहीं कहते कि जवाब क्यों नहीं देते? सत्संग का मतलब ही ये है कि जवाब दे दो। और मैं कोई कठिन सवाल नहीं पूछता, सीधे साधे सवाल पूछता हूं। अब एक महात्मा समझा रहे थे कि रामचंद्र जी सोने के हिरण के पीछे भागे, और तभी रावण आया और सीता को चुरा ले गया। मैंने कहा ठहरो, तुमने रामचंद्र जी को इतना बुद्धू समझा है? उनको भी इतनी अकल नहीं। गधे से गधे आदमी को ये अकल होती है। अगर मुझे भी, मैंने बड़ गंवार हूं समझो, मुझे भी अगर सोने का हिरण दिखाई पड़े तो मैं मानूंगा नहीं कि सच्चाई हो सकती। हिरण कहीं सोने के होते? तुम अपने ही कहो, अगर तुम्हें कहीं रास्ते पे हिरण दिखाई पड़ जाए और सोने का, तो तुम उसके पीछे जाओगे? कहते नहीं मैं पीछे नहीं जाऊंगा। तुम्हें अगर तुम सोचते हो रामचंद्र जी तुमसे भी ज्यादा गए बीते थे, सोने के हिरण के पीछे चले गए। सोने के कहीं हिरण होते? इतनी अकल तो उनमें होनी चाहिए। अरे जो कहते हैं कि सारा जगत मृग मरीच का है, वो मृग की ही मरीचिका में आ गए, हद हो गई। जवाब नहीं है तो बेचैनी खड़ी होती, पसीना छूट जाता, गुस्से में आ जाते। मेरा अपना अनुभव यही है कि छोटे बच्चों को अगर मौका मिले, उन्हें मौका ही नहीं देते, हम उन्हें डांट डपट के रखते, अवसर ही नहीं देते। नहीं तो तुम पाओगे कि उनके पास से ताजगी और उनके पास से मौलिक सूझबूझ, दृष्टि, और हम अगर उनको सहारा दें तो हम उनकी दृष्टि को निखार सकते, उसे बलवान बना सकते। छोटे बच्चों के पास जो क्षमता है, अब तक हमारी सारी चेष्टा उसे नष्ट करने में लगी रही, इसलिए मनुष्य जाति इतनी मूढ़ है। अन्यथा बुद्धों से भरी होती, और बुद्धों से भर सकती है पृथ्वी, मगर हमें काम बच्चों से ही शुरू करना पड़ेगा। और जब तक हम बच्चों की प्रतिभा को स्वीकार नहीं करते, तब तक हम मनुष्य को बदलने में समर्थ नहीं हो सकते। चौथा प्रश्न, भगवान आपके पास आते आते मेरी बुद्धि खो गई, मैं क्या करूं? प्रेम चैतन्य, यह तो होना ही चाहिए। जो होना था वही हुआ है, लेकिन तुम शायद मन में अपेक्षा और ही लेके आए होगे। मेरे पास जो लोग आते हैं प्रारंभ में, वो यही सोच के आते हैं कि ज्ञानी होके लौटेंगे, थोड़ा ज्ञान लेके लौटेंगे। नए नए लोग जो प्रश्न मुझे लिखते हैं उनमें यही होता है कि भगवान हमें ज्ञान दे। ज्ञान तुम्हारे पास काफी है, जरूरत से ज्यादा वही तुम्हारे प्राण ले रहा है। सदगुरु वह है जो तुम्हारा ज्ञान छीन ले। ज्ञान तो तुम्हें दे दिया है न मालूम किन किन ने, सब तुम्हें ज्ञान देने में लगे हुए। माँ बाप दे रहे हैं, पड़ोसी दे रहे हैं, जो मिले वही ज्ञान दे रहा है। ज्ञान देने में कोई कमी? तुम लो ना लो ये तुम्हारी मर्जी, मगर देने वाले दिए ही चले जाते। इस दुनिया में सबसे ज्यादा मुफ्त दी जाने वाली चीज सलाह है, हर कोई देता है। तुम ना भी मांगो तो लोग देते। तुम नहीं लोगे ये भी जानते हैं, फिर भी देते। और ऐसी सलाहें देते हैं जो उन्होंने खुद नहीं मानी अपने जीवन में, वो भी तुम्हें दे रहे हैं सलाहें। सलाह देने में तो लोग बिल्कुल ही कृपण नहीं होते, कंजूस नहीं होते, मगर सदगुरु सलाह नहीं देता, ज्ञान नहीं देता, बुद्धि नहीं देता, बुद्धि छीन लेता है। जिसको तुम बुद्धि समझते हो उसको छीन लेता है। अभी तुम्हारी बुद्धि कहां है? तुम्हारी अभी तो सब उधार है, बासी। इसके छिन जाने पर ही तुम्हारी अपनी निजता आविष्कृत होती है, तुम्हारे भीतर अंकुरित होती है प्रतिभा, तुम्हारी मेधा बढ़नी शुरू होती है, उसमें अंकुर आते, पत्ते लगते, फूल खिलते। ये तो अच्छा हुआ, मगर तुम्हें अड़चन हो रही होगी क्योंकि तुम आए कुछ और ख्याल से और हो गया उल्टा। सदगुरु के पास होना है तो मामला ही उल्टा। इसलिए तो जो चालाक हैं, चालबाज, वो भागे भागे रहते हैं दूर।
What I'm talking about is passing the buck and never really owning that you all, Muslims killing each other, killing your neighbors, killing other groups. It just, the Middle East in general and everywhere Muslims go turns into shit. Funds the Muslim Brotherhood, and it isn't the West. Who funds the Muslim Brotherhood? It isn't the West. Yeah, it's not the West. What do you suppose? IRGC. Wrong.
I think that's what we have the answer, Al. The rest of the answer is Muslims.
बच्चे बच्चे रहते, बचने के न मालूम कितने उपाय खोज लेते, कितने बहाने खोज लेते, कितने तर्क जाल बिछा लेते हैं अपने चारों तरफ। इसलिए तो मेरे जैसे व्यक्तियों के खिलाफ
being so low is committing jihad on my ears. No, you're gonna have to fix your mic, brother.
Yeah, we hear you really bad.
Qatar mostly funds the Muslim Brotherhood. Qatar and Turkey help Muslims.
That's the one thing about Turkey. Like, I can really give a shit if they have F-35, but they have the fucking air defense from Russia, and like one of the things you have to fear is that could they use the F-35s to basically train that Russian air defense to take out our F-35s?
Well, I wouldn't want that job. I always thought who's your real threat there in Italy.
Well, I wouldn't call them a threat to America per se, but would I trust them with something like the F-35? Not really.
No, but we spoke about this. Turkey is going to be part of NATO.
Close your eyes and get comfortable. It's time to breathe deeply and relax completely. Breathe deeply and relax completely, allowing a quietness of spirit to come in. Feel the blood flowing through your arms and legs, through your body and mind. Relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. Take a deep breath. Hold it as long as you comfortably can. And then let it out slowly through slightly parted lips. And when the breath is all the way out, contract your stomach muscles and push it even further out and further out. And then repeat this process of breathing deeply and relaxing completely. And if any outside thoughts should come into your mind, simply brush them aside and return your concentration to the sound of my voice. And breathing deeply and relaxing completely. Breathing deeply and relaxing completely. And now use your imagination and feel your body relaxing one part at a time in response to my words. Play the role, play the part, and mentally relay the relaxing suggestions into that part of your body and feel them take effect. Feel your body relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. And the relaxing sensations are now coming into the toes of both of your feet at the same time. Moving right on down into your arches, into your heels, and on up into your ankles. Completely relaxed, completely relaxed. And these soothing sensations are now moving on up your legs to your knees, relaxing all the muscles as it goes. And on up your legs to your thighs and to your hips, just completely relaxing. And your full attention is on the sound of my voice. As the relaxing sensations move into the fingers of both of your hands, relaxing your hand. And it now moves on up into your forearm, relaxing your forearm. on up into your upper arms, relaxing your upper arms. And your fingers and hands and forearms and upper arms are now just completely relaxed as the soothing sensations move on down into the base of your spine. And then begin to move slowly up your spine, up your spine, up your spine, and into the back of your neck and shoulder muscles. And the back of your neck and shoulder muscles are now loose and limp, loose and limp, just completely relaxed. And the relaxing sensations now move on up the back of your neck and into your scalp, relaxing your scalp. Feel your scalp relaxing, and feel the relaxing sensations flow down into your facial muscles. Relaxing your facial muscles, just completely relaxing your facial muscles. Allow a little space between your teeth and your jaws relax. And your entire body is now relaxed all over in every way. All tension is gone from your body and mind. All tension is gone from your body and mind. And it's time to imagine a bright white light coming down from above and entering your crown chakra of spirituality on the top of your head. Now this is the universal light of life energy. See it, feel it, create it with the unlimited power of your mind, and feel the light within you, flowing through your body and mind, filling you to overflowing with this bright white protectory light. And now vividly imagine the light concentrating around your heart area, and visualize it emerging from your heart area to totally surround your body with a protectory aura of bright white God light. And as you continue to listen to the sound of my voice, vividly imagine your son in a situation in which you are going down, 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 deeper and deeper down as I count backwards from 7 to 1. Number 7, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 6, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 5, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 4, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 3, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 2, deeper, 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 And you're now very, very deep. And you feel deep. But let's go down even deeper, even deeper, even deeper. Number 7, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 6, deeper, deeper, down, down, down. Number 5, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 4, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 3, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 2, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 1. And you're now relaxed and at ease and at peace in a relaxing, altered state of consciousness. And each and every time you alter consciousness, you will go deeper than the time before until you've reached your natural level, which can be maintained by using this technique several times a week. Now, if at any time you feel uncomfortable in any way, all you have to do to awaken is to mentally count yourself up from 1 to 5. So you're in control. You can awaken at any time you desire to do so. And you're now relaxed and at ease, and quietness of spirit permeates your body and mind. And I'm going to begin by providing suggestions that will be communicated to every level of your body and mind. And they'll be accepted on every level of your body and mind. A quietness of spirit now permeates your body and mind. You release all tension created by stored up energy within your nervous system. All nervous energy is released to flow freely through your body and mind to be used in constructive ways. You feel calm, relaxed, and at peace with yourself, the world, and everyone in it. You have the courage and confidence to do what you need to do to resolve your problems. You can resolve your concerns and conflicts with minimal effort. You accept the things you cannot change, and you change the things you can. You accept who you are. You always do your best, which is all anyone can ask. Every day, in every way, you become more peaceful and harmonious. Negativity flows through you without affecting you. As a result of this programming, you develop a new, mellow, and confident self-image. Quietness of spirit are your key trigger words for post-hypnotic conditioned response. And these suggestions have been communicated to every level of your body and mind, and they've been accepted on every level of your body and mind. And it's now time to visualize yourself having successfully overcome any and all anxiety. imagine how good it feels to experience an ongoing quietness of spirit. Imagine your reactions and the reactions of those close to you. Vividly fantasize all the changes and benefits derived from living life in this calm state of mind. Create every detail of these visualizations, and in so doing, you communicate your desires to the levels of mind that will assist you in manifesting the positive outcomes. Imagine what you desire as if it were already so. Do this now while I am quiet for a while. And you've just seen your own reality. And you're open to positive suggestions which you'll accept and act upon. A quietness of spirit now permeates your body and mind. You release all tension created by stored up energy within your nervous system. All nervous energy is released to flow freely through your body and mind to be used in constructive ways. You feel calm, relaxed, and at peace with yourself, the world, and everyone in it. You have the courage and confidence to do what you need to do to resolve your problems. You can resolve your concerns and conflicts with minimal effort. You accept the things you cannot change, and you change the things you can. You accept who you are. You always do your best, which is all anyone can ask. Every day, in every way, you become more peaceful and harmonious. Negativity flows through you without affecting you. As a result of this programming, you develop a new mellow and confident self-image. Quietness of spirit are your key trigger words for post-hypnotic conditioned response. And these suggestions have been communicated to every level of your body and mind, and they've been accepted on every level of your body and mind. And these suggestions have been communicated to every level of your body and mind, and they've been accepted on every level of your body and mind. And it's now time to use a repeat technique to saturate your mind with a message. Together, we'll communicate it to every level of your being. So say the words along with me, silently in your mind. Shout them out silently, and hear them echo out across the universe and back to you. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. That's right. A quietness of spirit now permeates your body and mind, and all your stored up energy is released to flow freely through your system. And every day, in every way, you become more peaceful and harmonious. Your new, mellow, and confident self-image is a projection of who you are. It is. You are mellow and self-confident. And I'm now going to give you some key trigger words for post-hypnotic conditioned response. Anytime you feel the slightest bit nervous, simply stop what you're doing, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and say these words quietly to yourself. Quietness of spirit. The words quietness of spirit are post-hypnotic conditioned response trigger words to reduce anxiety and intensify your calm and confident demeanor. These key trigger words invoke powerful post-programming mental conditioning that you can draw upon when you need it. When you say the words quietness of spirit, you'll immediately feel a surge of calmness and confidence flow through your body and mind. And every time you hear this suggestion, and every time you use your quietness of spirit programming, it becomes more and more effective. And it's now time to repeat another powerful affirmation along with me. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. That's right. You've programmed this suggestion on every level of your body and mind, and it becomes your reality. And now, once again, it's time to create another visualization in which you perceive yourself having successfully accomplished your goal. Fantasize the desired result of this programming. Create every detail in your mind, your feelings and reactions, the reactions of others, everything. Make it real. Do this now while I'm quiet for a while. And you've just seen your own reality. And upon awakening, you'll remember all that has been communicated. You'll awaken feeling as if you just had a refreshing nap. Your head will be cleared, and you'll think and act with calm self-assurance, feeling glad to be alive and at peace with yourself, the world, and everyone in it. So let's come on up now. On the count of 5, you'll open your eyes and be wide awake. Number 1, feel the lifeblood returning to your arms and legs. Number 2, coming on up and at peace with all life. Number 3, coming on up feeling an internal balance and harmony. Number 4, recall the situation in the room. And number 5, wide awake, wide awake. Open your eyes and feel good. Number 5, wide awake. You're wide awake and fully alert. And I'm going to communicate some powerful self-talk phrases. You can do other things if you wish while programming your mind by repeating the phrases after me. And throughout your day, recall these phrases and say them over and over to yourself, out loud or silently in your mind. All right? right, now repeat each phrase after me. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind. I release all tension created by stored up energy within my nervous system. All nervous energy is released to flow freely through my body and mind to be used in constructive ways. I feel calm, relaxed, and at peace with myself, the world, and everyone in it. I have the courage and confidence to do what I need to do to resolve my problems. I can resolve my concerns and conflicts with minimal. I accept the things I cannot change, and I change the things I can. I accept who I am. I always do my best, which is all anyone can ask. Every day, in every way, I become more peaceful and harmonious. Negativity flows through me without affecting me. As a result of this programming, I develop a new mellow and confident self-image. The words, quietness of spirit, are my key trigger words for post-hypnotic conditioned response. I accept all these self-talk suggestions on every level of my body and mind, and so it is. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind. I release all tension created by stored up energy within my nervous system. All nervous energy is released to flow freely through my body and mind to be used in constructive ways. I feel calm, relaxed, and at peace with myself, the world, and everyone in it. I have the courage and confidence to do what I need to do to resolve my problems. I can resolve my concerns and conflicts with minimal effort. I accept the things I cannot change, and I change the things I can. I accept who I am. I always do my best, which is all anyone can ask. Every day, in every way, I become more peaceful and harmonious. Negativity flows through me without affecting me. As a result of this programming, I develop a new mellow and confident self-image. The words, quietness of spirit, are my key trigger words for post-hypnotic conditioned response. I accept all these self-talk suggestions on every level of my body and mind, and so it is. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind. I release all tension created by stored up energy within my nervous system. All nervous energy is released to flow freely through my body and mind to be used in constructive ways. I feel calm, relaxed, and at peace with myself, the world, and everyone in it. I have the courage and confidence to do what I need to do to resolve my problems. I can resolve my concerns and conflicts with minimal effort. I accept the things I cannot change, and I change the things I can. I accept who I am. I always do my best, which is all anyone can ask. Every day, in every way, I become more peaceful and harmonious. Negativity flows through me without affecting me. As a result of this programming, I develop a new mellow and confident self-image. The words, quietness of spirit, are my key trigger words for post-hypnotic conditioned response. I accept all these self-talk suggestions on every level of my body and mind, and so it is. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind. I release all tension created by stored up energy within my nervous system. All nervous energy is released to flow freely through my body and mind to be used in constructive ways. I feel calm, relaxed, and at peace with myself, the world, and everyone in it. I have the courage and confidence to do what I need to do to resolve my problems. I can resolve my concerns and conflicts with minimal effort. I accept the things I cannot change, and I change the things I can. I accept who I am. I always do my best, which is all anyone can ask. Every day, in every way, I become more peaceful and harmonious. Negativity flows through me without affecting me. As a result of this programming, I develop a new mellow and confident self-image. The words, quietness of spirit, are my key trigger words for post-hypnotic conditioned response. I accept all these self-talk suggestions on every level of my body and mind, and so it is. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind. I release all tension created by stored up energy within my nervous system. All nervous energy is released to flow freely through my body and mind to be used in constructive ways. I feel calm, relaxed, and at peace with myself, the world, and everyone in it. I have the courage and confidence to do what I need to do to resolve my problems. All right. The self-talk phrases session is now complete, and in 20 seconds, the sleep programming introduction will begin. Sleep programming is nearly as powerful as hypnosis for programming your mind with life-changing suggestions. All you have to do is listen to the session as you go to sleep. As you relax and drift into first stage sleep, the cycle per second activity of your brain slows down to alpha. The second level of theta precedes deep delta. Alpha and theta are the levels accessed for hypnosis programming. So on the following sleep programming session, I'll use the same induction as on the first session to take you to these levels quickly. Then, as you cross over into natural sleep, you continue to hear the suggestion. These affirmations are phrased for maximum acceptance by all levels of your mind. The words fade away at the end of the session, telling you to sleep soundly through the night and to awaken inspired to begin a new day. All right, now make yourself comfortable and prepare to be programmed as you go to sleep. Close your eyes and get comfortable. It's time to breathe deeply and relax completely. Breathe deeply and relax completely, allowing a quietness of spirit to come in. Feel the blood flowing through your arms and legs, through your body and mind. Relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. Take a deep breath. Hold it as long as you comfortably can. And then let it out slowly through slightly parted lips. And when the breath is all the way out, contract your stomach muscles and push it even further out and further out. And then repeat this process of breathing deeply and relaxing completely. And if any outside thoughts should come into your mind, simply brush them aside and return your concentration to the sound of my voice. And breathing deeply and relaxing completely. Breathing deeply and relaxing completely. And now use your imagination and feel your body relaxing one part at a time in response to my words. Play the role, play the part, and mentally relay the relaxing suggestions into that part of your body. And feel them take effect. Feel your body relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. And the relaxing sensations are now coming into the toes of both of your feet at the same time. Moving right on down into your arches, into your heels, and on up into your ankle. Completely relaxed, completely relaxed. And these soothing sensations are now moving on up your legs to your knees, relaxing all the muscles as it goes. And on up your legs to your thighs and to your hips. Just completely relaxing. And your full attention is on the sound of my voice as the relaxing sensations move into the fingers of both of your hands, relaxing your hand. And it now moves on up into your forearms, relaxing your forearms, and on up into your upper arms, relaxing your upper arms. And your fingers and hands and forearms and upper arms are now just completely relaxed as the soothing sensations move on down into the base of your spine. And then begin to move slowly up your spine, up your spine, up your spine, and into the back of your neck and shoulder muscles. And the back of your neck and shoulder muscles are now loose and limp, loose and limp, just completely relaxed. And the relaxing sensations now move on up the back of your neck and into your scalp, relaxing your scalp. Feel your scalp relaxing, and feel the relaxing sensations flow down into your facial muscles, relaxing your facial muscles, just completely relaxing your facial muscles. Allow a little space between your teeth, and your jaw is relaxed. and your entire body is now relaxed all over in every way. All tension is gone from your body and mind. All tension is gone from your body and mind. And it's time to imagine a bright white light coming down from above and entering your crown chakra of spirituality on the top of your head. Now this is the universal light of life energy. See it, feel it, create it with the unlimited power of your mind, and feel the light within you, flowing through your body and mind, filling you to overflowing with this bright white protectory light. And now, vividly imagine the light concentrating around your heart area. And visualize it emerging from your heart area to totally surround your body with a protectory aura of bright white God light. And as you continue to listen to the sound of my voice, vividly imagine yourself in a situation in which you are going down, 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 deeper and deeper down, as I count backwards from 7 to 1. Number 7, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 6, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 5, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 4, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 3, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 2, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 1. And you're now very, very deep. And you feel deep. But let's go down even deeper, even deeper, even deeper. Number 7, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 6, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 5, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 4, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 3, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 2, deeper, 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 down, down, down. Number 1. And you're now relaxed relaxed and at ease and at peace, in a relaxing, altered state of consciousness. And each and every time you alter consciousness, you will go deeper than the time before, until you've reached your natural level, which can be maintained by using this technique several times a week. Now, if at any time you feel uncomfortable in any way, all you have to do to awaken is to mentally count yourself up from 1 to 5. So you're in control. You can awaken at any time you desire to do so. And your body is relaxed, relaxed, relaxed. And your mind is relaxed as you cross over into sleep. A peaceful, relaxing sleep. Peaceful, relaxing sleep. And you're at peace with yourself, the world, and everyone in it. As you go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. A deep, peaceful, harmonious sleep. Sleep. And you're going to sleep. And as you do, you accept the suggestions you hear. You accept the suggestions you hear. As you go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. And the suggestions become your reality. The suggestions are accepted on every level of your body and mind, and they become your reality. You fulfill your desire. You do. You accept it. You accept the suggestion. You accept the suggestions as you go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. A quietness of spirit now permeates your body and mind. You release all tension created by stored up energy within your nervous system. All nervous energy is released to flow freely through your body and mind to be used in constructive ways. You feel calm, relaxed, and at peace with yourself, the world, and everyone in it. You have the courage and confidence to do what you need to do to resolve your problems. You can resolve your concerns and conflicts with minimal effort. You accept the things you cannot change, and you change the things you can. You accept who you are. You always do your best, which is all anyone can ask. Every day, in every way, you become more peaceful and harmonious. Negativity flows through you without affecting you. As a result of this programming, you develop a new mellow and confident self-image. Quietness of spirit are your key trigger words for post-hypnotic conditioned response. And these suggestions have been communicated to every level of your body and mind, and they've been accepted on every level of your body and mind. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. Quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. A quietness of spirit now permeates your body and mind. You release all tension created by stored up energy within your nervous system. All nervous energy is released to flow freely through your body and mind to be used in constructive ways. You feel calm, relaxed, and at peace with yourself, the world, and everyone in it. You have the courage and confidence to do what you need to do to resolve your problems. You can resolve your concerns and conflicts with minimal effort. You accept the things you cannot change, and you change the things you can. You accept who you are. You always do your best, which is all anyone can ask. Every day, in every way, you become more peaceful and harmonious. Negativity flows through you without affecting you. As a result of this programming, you develop a new mellow and confident self-image. quietness of spirit are your key trigger words for post-hypnotic conditioned response. And these suggestions have been communicated to every level of your body and mind, and they've been accepted on every level of your body and mind. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. When I say the words quietness of spirit, I relax, regain control, and experience a surge of calmness and confidence. A quietness of spirit now permeates your body and mind. You release all tension created by stored up energy within your nervous system. All nervous energy is released to flow freely through your body and mind to be used in constructive ways. You feel calm, relaxed, and at peace with yourself, the world, and everyone in it. You have the courage and confidence to do what you need to do to resolve your problem. You can resolve your concerns and conflicts with minimal effort. You accept the things you cannot change, and you change the things you can. You accept who you are. You always do your best, which is all anyone can ask. Every day, in every way, you become more peaceful and harmonious. Negativity flows through you without affecting you. As a result of this programming, you develop a new mellow and confident self-image. Quietness of spirit are your key trigger words for post-hypnotic conditioned response. And these suggestions have been communicated to every level of your body and mind, and they've been accepted on every level of your body and mind. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. A quietness of spirit now permeates my body and mind, and my stored up energy is released to flow freely through my system. You sleep peacefully through the night and awaken in peace with yourself, the world, and everyone in it. And you'll awaken feeling glad to be alive, refreshed, thinking and acting with calm self, and inspired to begin a new day. And you accept these suggestions as you go to sleep. The suggestions are accepted on every level of your body and mind, and they become your reality. You fulfill your desire. You do. You accept it. And you accept these suggestions as you go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. And you accept these suggestions as you go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. And you accept these suggestions as you go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. And you accept these suggestions as you go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. And you accept these suggestions as you go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Oh, okay, okay. Seriously? You mean it's only, okay.
is